In the months leading to his death, Juice WRLD was addicted to two things: drugs,
giving up their old girls for an autograph of the pic,
and Ali Lotti. But while there is no denying that Juice's drug addiction played a huge role in his untimely demise, I am convinced that his total devotion to Ali Lotti was also a major problem. And it was a problem that began way before they even met. Because you see, Juice was just a kid when he met Ali. And more than that, he was a kid in an unending battle with his demons. And while we were convinced Ali was the perfect fit for him when he was alive, since his passing, we now know that it was all one big lie. Because ever since Juice died, Ali has dragged his name and legacy through the mud. Since he died, Ali has not let his corpse rest, digging it up in several clout-fueled claims that has confused every one of us about the nature of his death. You guys think he died from a drug overdose. You're wrong. You're wrong literally. Ali Lotti has commodified Juice, her dead lover, and she has given away his stuff like it was nothing, like he never loved her, and like she never claimed to love him. The truth is, Juice should never have met Ali Lotti. Juice deserved better, and Ali deserves her current failure. Here's why. On the 26th of June, images of an IG conversation between Ali Lotti and an IG user with the username Rare Juice WRLD merch leaked to the public.
Juice WRLD's ex-girlfriend, Ali Lotti, is supposedly selling exclusive Juice WRLD memorabilia.
Yeah, a package deal.
What was probably the most annoying part of this leak was the fact this wasn't the first, second, or third time Ali would be caught in an independent auction of Juice's property. At this point, there was no denying that Ali had zero regard for Juice and zero regard for the future of everything he did while he was still alive. In fact, you could say Ali has been moving like she hated Juice, and while many fans would be quick to agree with this statement, I am less inclined to disagree. It's not like I'm convinced Ali loved Juice. I just know that she didn't hate him. Her version of love, for her understanding of the term, is unlike anything that me, you, or any other half-sane person would imagine love to be. And trust me, I'm not judging the book by its cover here. Ali has given us more than enough proof in the past 4 years for us to understand how this woman thinks. And the leaked DMs is the perfect starting point for understanding her perspective. They give us a glimpse into Ali Lotti's psyche, how she was able to fool us, how she was able to fool Juice, and how she is nowhere as innocent as many of us thought she was when she and Juice started dating. Fans got to know Ali was once again peddling Juice's stuff like tacos from a food truck when the IG user she was selling to put up this story, announcing that they were trying to auction off Juice WRLD's iconic transparent Louis Vuitton Prism backpack. If you remember that hilarious Hot Ones episode that Juice appeared in, yeah, it's the same one. Now, according to the story, Ali wasn't just trying to sell only the bag. She had other Juice items that she was ready to sell in something she called a package deal. Just the idea of it makes me want to throw up. But then again, as I said before, Ali didn't love Juice, but at the same time, you must know that she didn't hate him. Well, according to Ali's twisted logic expressed vividly through leaked DMs with this IG user, Ali would first say that she wasn't trying to sell the Juice's items and that it was priceless to her. But in that same DM, in fact, in the same sentence, she would also state that she knew it was going to be worth more money in the future, and that she was looking to walk away with at least $30K from selling the bag along with other items that she sent images of to this particular individual. There's no way of looking at this that doesn't expose just how f***ed up this was. But hey, I've had a lot of peeps who've come to her defense on this particular issue, and when they do, this is the question I always ask them in response. Have you ever loved someone so much and they loved you back just as much that when they tragically lost their lives, you decided the best way to honor them was to sell their stuff to total strangers in package deals worth $30,000? The answer is often either a nervous silence or a reluctant no. Because as bizarre as it might sound to those of you who still disagree with me, Ali has no right to sell Juice's stuff. I mean, if it was stuff he gifted her, that's okay. But his own stuff? Nah. If Ali really couldn't stand having Juice's stuff with her, either because of the trauma of his loss, the love she had for him, or whatever other reason her apologists tend to conjure up from their asses, she could have easily just handed it over to his label or his mom, especially his mom. She would have taken care of it for him, but Ali didn't. And we both know why? Why? Because Ali never loved Juice. But again, as I said before, you must know that she didn't hate him. The reason why I insist she didn't hate him, the reason why I've been waffling about that exact phrase since the beginning of this video is because, like I said before, Ali and Juice weren't on the same page when it came to the definition of the love they supposedly had for each other. And this is the point where I'm probably going to piss some fans off. But stay with me. Nothing I'm going to say from here will be a lie or a cheap shot at the legend that was Juice. What Juice and Ali shared wasn't love, even though it might have looked like it to us when he was alive. What they shared was a Willy Wonka themed toxic spill pill that was gonna, and did eventually, blow up in both their faces. Again, let me say this for those in the back. I'm not coming for Juice. And I blame Allie Lotti or all of this, not Juice. Because she should have known. She was the older lovebird. When they met, Allie was 24 and Juice was just 19. There was a 5-year gap between them, and she should have taken responsibility for the utter craziness that was their 1-year-plus relationship. But she didn't. And that raises the question, what really happened? And how did Allie Lotti get past Juice's defenses to steal his heart? Because the truth is, it takes two for a love story, and the very idea that Juice didn't realize that Allie was playing a dubious game with him means there was a flaw in Juice that kept him blind to her devices. And that's what I want us to explore next. I want us to dive into what was going through Juice's head when he chose Allie as his lover. And like I said before, this is where we get to the sensitive stuff. Meeting Allie was the worst thing that happened to Juice, and choosing her was the biggest mistake he ever made.
Saw this other girl who was like real beautiful. So like I was like, nah, I'm gonna vibe with this type, right?
This Benny Blanco podcast was released just a few weeks after Juice met Allie and got their thing going. He was 19 at the time. Now, I'm sure you'd agree with me when I say that most 19-year-olds do not know what the hell they are doing when they get into relationships. And it doesn't matter if they've been in tons of relationships before that one. The truth is that most of them are confused. They are still teenagers in their heads. If you are 19 watching this and being honest with yourself, you know what I am saying is true, and it's okay. Most adults older than you still haven't figured it out. You probably messed up your last relationship, and now you hate your ex, probably more than your ex even hates you. Juice was no exception. In fact, he was the prime example, the perfect specimen. The relationships he had before he met Allie was a cluster, and his very first was the catalyst for the success of his entire career. Now, if you checked up Juice's relationships on social media, you'd find Starfire as the only girl he had before Allie. But that isn't the whole truth. True Juice fans know that before Starfire there was Bella, and depending on who you ask, what he had with her was either the most beautiful tragic love story, or it was the most toxic tragic relationship.
Problems really started when the label wanted to name his album Bella, and that's his ex-girlfriend. The one that the Lucid Dream song is about. Like, that song was written back when he was a senior in high school.
You see, Juice had a long history of taking the toxic parts of his life and turning it into something beautiful. And the story behind the song Lucid Dreams was just one example. According to Starfire, Juice hated Bella, and his own method of dealing with the pain he felt from breaking up with her was by putting pen to paper and creating Lucid Dreams, one of the greatest songs of all time. What Starfire didn't know at the time was that Juice was going to do the same thing to her. She was also going to become his toxic muse. However, she saw the sign.
But then, a couple weeks later, I still didn't trust him because things just seemed sus. Like, he just seemed sketchy at this point. I didn't trust him. And so he started making songs about how I couldn't learn to forgive him.
Now, obviously, when I said earlier that Juice took the toxic parts of his life and made them beautiful, I was being awfully specific. Sure, the songs were beautiful, but the reality of what was going on behind those songs was horrific, to say the least. Juice was a tormented soul, and his only release came when he was writing out that torment within him in verse. Because you gotta know that while the music can heal the fans, it hardly ever does much for the artist. Go ask Sam Bennington, Kurt Cobain, Mac Miller, and probably every artist that took their lives while creating some of the most soulful, timeless music the world had ever heard. One of the many reasons could be that some of these artists have lost control and do not have an anchor to rein them in. They do not have someone they trust that they could turn to that would give them directions. And in Juice's case, the lack of a father figure in his life got him turning to his favorite artist, who eventually led him astray from a very early age.
We were talking about how you were in 6th grade when Future dropped Dirty Sprite. And Future, you said listening to that, you said you talked to Future. What did you tell him?
I said, bro, that had me wanting to sip lean in like 6th grade.
When Juice was just 3, his parents divorced, and his mother was forced to raise him and his older brother alone. As you would expect, the lack of a father figure in his early life got him looking to other older individuals for guidance. Unfortunately, one of such figures just turned out to be Future, and as anyone would expect, it set him on the destructive path of drug use that would eventually become one of the main things that led to his demise. So, Juice was an impressionable kid. He might have been a fantastic artist, but for the most part, and up until his death, he was still a kid trying to find his way in the world. And you could see all of that in the way he was trying to be a gangster. I don't know if you know this, but the label that Juice was signed to was kind of like the financial arm for a notorious criminal group called the No Limit Gang. All of them from Lil Bibby to G Herbo were a part of this gang. But Juice wasn't. He was a suburban kid that spent a huge chunk of his formative years in Homewood. He wasn't street, and yet he wanted to be.
Go Ghost, that's why we said we smoking on Ghost. Smoking on Katie Pack, Imposto, and Mr. the Most. Man,
I'ma kill you, you know it though.
There are several videos of him online dissing No Limit ops that he had no business dissing. And there are a couple of other clips of him throwing up gang signs that he had no business repping. Was there anyone in the No Limit crew or in the Grade A label that was responsible enough to tell him to stop? That he wasn't about that life? Nah, they loved him all right. But they weren't interested in being his anchor, either because they didn't have it in them or because they knew what the responsibility meant. Because Juice was just a kid. You can see him show just that childish innocence when he revealed to the world that he had been cheating on Starfire with Lotti.
Wow, all this was going on when I was with my ex. She's gonna find out I cheated.
Nothing has to.
Oh no, I want this to come out.
It's all in the past.
It's all in the past.
The childlike insecurity in his voice and demeanor is difficult to ignore. The way he does a mini celebration at the chance of getting a one-up on his ex, a one-up on Starfire, the girl that he loved that supposedly didn't believe in him and his dream. And it's crazy that I have to say this as a disclaimer before telling the truth about this clip, but I love Juice. I am a massive fan, but the clip I showed you ain't right. You can hear the producer recognize how delicate and problematic the situation was. And right after Juice insisted that he wanted it to come out, you can see how he echoes Brendan Urie's statement about it all being in the past. But does that make it okay? I know the standards are low these days, and most of us are used to the toxicity that media feeds us, but you gotta admit that revealing that detail, live like that on a video that would be viewed by tens of millions of people just ain't right. It's the kind of thing that opens up a door for crazy fans to bully Starfire. And funny enough, it did. I mean, one proof is the fact that we are still talking about it. Truth is, Juice didn't handle that situation like an adult. He handled it like a kid, and that's because that's exactly who he was. He still felt the need for guidance, still wanted to stop being alone. Truth is, his music, the lifestyle, everything that made Juice who he was, who he is remembered for, was just a huge distraction from the fact that the young man was suffering. Juice needed serious help, and like I just said, he needed direction, an anchor. That's what he needed. And while some people find it in family, others find it in a supportive partner. And it's at this point that Juice made the error. Allie wasn't the right selection for his needs. She was a woman who already had a boatload of issues. She had a drug problem, had a gambling problem, and had some rappers on speed dial before meeting Juice. Check her in this tweet from 2018 where she said she was not sleeping with your boyfriend anymore, but was with your favorite rappers. And this tweet from 2017 where she hinted who one of those rappers might have been. Now, the reason I'm showing you these tweets is because I believe that aside her beauty, one of the major reasons Juice chose Allie was because he felt she understood him. He felt he had found someone who would have his back 24/7, someone he could shower love and affection on that would love him back. He might not have known it at the time, but he saw the guidance he needed in Lotti. He saw that anchor in her. She was going to be there to ensure he didn't stray too far to the point where he would himself up, because you see, relationships are transactional. And because when he proposed this to the girlfriends before Allie, when he brought this to Starfire, she rejected the idea.
He was very controlling. He wanted me there with him constantly. Every show, every flight, every car ride, every studio session, everything.
Starfire would also reveal that Juice wanted her to drop out because he had dropped out. And though he didn't have money at the time, he promised to take care of her because he believed in his music enough that he was sure he was going to be a success. See, I'm not even going to blame her. How many of y'all are capable of dropping everything you are doing for the one you say you love? How many people are willing to devote themselves 100%, sacrificing their own careers and future for a promise of someone else's? Future success? It's one hell of a gamble. And if you're being honest with yourself, you know that your answer is more likely to be in hell no than a yes. Most of y'all wouldn't, and no one that's sensible would blame you for your decision. There's no guarantee in this world. And in Juice world at that time, there also wasn't any guarantee, despite the fact that lucid dreams sounded fire. But Juice turned out to be right. He went on to have a successful career. And since then, many fans have insisted that Starfire didn't get his vision. That's a true statement. But it strays from the point I'm trying to make here. The point is that while Starfire ended up not being the anchor Juice wanted, someone else was more than ready, and that person was Lotti. She was ready to give herself to Juice in ways that Starfire wasn't prepared to. She was ready to give up herself, her life to him 100%.
Jared literally, he kidnapped me. Is the only way we could say it. It's like a joke that we would say, but it happened. I don't own anything from my house except for my dogs.
Okay, so what was the problem? If she gave herself to Juice, why am I making so much fuss over nothing? Well, first of all, you must know that it wasn't much of a sacrifice. When Allie met Juice, she had no plans for college like Starfire did, and she had been living on her own for at least 7 years doing football. One reason Allie and Juice probably connected very quickly was because, like Juice, Allie also grew up without her father. The 5 years before she met met Juice had been spent living on the road, skipping between cities in Tennessee, Alabama, Memphis, Vegas. Then at some point she worked as a bartender, did some dancing, and had a problematic career as a part-time gambler. However, the most important part of her routine during this period that made her fit perfectly into Juice's desires was the fact that she was already hitching rides with rappers on tour when she met him. The life was very familiar to her.
Yeah, did a couple tours, did a couple this, did a couple that. Yeah, I would go with my friend. I've been in this I guess what, industry for a minute.
And that's how you know the truth behind the woman's intentions. That's how you know that her intentions were not pure from the jump. You remember when I said that relationships are transactional? Well, while Juice was clear with his own terms and conditions for their relationship, Allie agreed to them but masked hers under false pretenses.
I remember when my country friend from Alabama was the one who showed me Jared. And I remember him playing me 2 songs, and then we went back to this house, and it was like a couple of us there, and they were like, yeah, no, listen to Lucid Dreams. I remember sitting there in this guy's house, like watching this video, and I'm like, this is what I would do.
This sounds beautiful if it was true, but it isn't. It's either a lie or a very generous misrepresentation of the truth. And the reason I know this is because of this clip.
And this is why I can't listen to the radio. I need to stop rappers. You have a small
This is from before Juice met her. He wasn't as mainstream as he became after he met her, but she knew who he was. And she was dissing his music while confirming what I said earlier about how she had rappers on speed dial. You wouldn't be wrong to compare what she did to Juice with what Mariah Mills hoped to do, in part, to Zion Williamson. But unlike Zion, who rejected Mariah and had a baby from another woman, Juice was loyal to Allie and was this close to putting a ring on it. Juice was devoted to Allie. And while there are some folks that would argue that it was mutual, I have already said earlier that I do not disagree. But the truth is that it was a mutual show of different interpretations of love, with a lot more complications lurking underneath. Think of it like this: if I got a high-paying job, a job that gives me 10 grand a month, I'll be devoted as to it. I'd work very hard and meet all my targets. But none of that means that I love the job. It just means that I love the money the job brings. And that's the kind of love that I'm convinced Allie had for Juice. Because the truth is, meeting Juice was not a happy incident as she'd want you to believe. It was planned. It was calculated. And I know this because she'd done it to young men who looked like they had successful careers ahead of them way before she met Juice. And she would do it again after he died. That's why she was 5 years older than Juice when she met him. You know who else she was 5 years older than? Trippie Redd. In fact, Trippie was 6 months younger than Juice. Allie met Trippie in 2017, and this is where I will leave the rest of the calculation for you to figure out. And hey, if you still don't see the problematic pattern, I'll give you the third exhibit. The dude she hooked up with after Juice passing was some guy named Carter Jameson. If you don't know the name or the face, he's some agency scammer kid that made new money off artists and YouTube. And we gotta know they were dating when she started giving him some of Juice's stuff. First it was Juice's jacket, then she gave him Juice's Rolex watch. Then the two lovebirds were caught up in a criminal case where both of them were charged with misdemeanor and theft of property. Carter got off easy, but Allie pleaded guilty to misdemeanor possession of instruments of crime and got a 1 year suspended sentence and 6 months probation. The only reason she didn't get thrown into jail was because she'd not had as much of a criminal record up until that point. However, her habit of dating barely legal dudes isn't normal. That's a fact no one can deny. And while it might not be all the proof you need to see that she's been incredibly sketchy, at the very least, it proves my point. Some say that Allie isn't at her mental best, and my response is that sounds like a whole load of bullshit. Allie knows what she's doing. This is her life. It has been her life from the jump. It's the way she survives. So even when she comes online screaming about how we all need to suck a d because some people believe he died from a drug overdose, know that it's all a game to her. It is deliberate. She isn't crazy. Allie Lotti is a hustler. She's been that way since she was 15, and her love life with Juice was supposed to be her biggest and probably final hustle. And that's why images like these don't move me. No matter what happens to Allie, I cannot afford to feel sorry for her, because everything that has happened to her so far is the culmination of every diabolical, calculating, and manipulative move she's made her whole life, before she got into Juice's life and after she made a mess of it. If you enjoyed this expose, click on a video on your screen to watch even more interesting mini documentaries like this one, and I'll see you there.